So, welcome to day 6 of Surrounded, a walk through Psalm 23. You know, God doesn't need favorable circumstances to do favorable things. God doesn't need the stars to align and for all of it to go perfectly in your life for Him to do favorable things in your life. God doesn't need your bank account to be full for Him to afford what He's called you to do. See, for so many years I thought that God was providing out of my account, but I've grown to realize that God is not impacted by my limitations or by my circumstances. Today we're in verse 5. Verse 5 says, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup runs over." You remember now, yesterday we talked about the transition into that valley of the shadow of death and also how we don't need to make camp and set up our address in that valley. Nobody needs to be getting mail in that valley, okay? We're going through it. I'm walking through it, but I do need provisions in that valley, and God is faithful in that valley, just like He is on the mountaintop. See, for me to truly get to know God, I have to experience Him on the mountain and the valley. Here's the amazing banquet going on, happening right here in the least likeliest of places. It's in the presence of my enemies. Man, that's crazy. It's a beautiful sight that not only does God have the ability to provide for me in unfavorable circumstances, but He also has the ability to protect me while He provides. He's the owner, the chef, and security all in one. When you entered into this valley, the enemy knew he had you. He had carefully made it dry, without water, without provision, lonely, isolated, dark, and intimidating. The enemy knew that this valley would be the crack in your armor that will allow him to move in to steal, kill, and destroy. But you did something he didn't see coming. You let God lead. And you kept walking until God said, okay, let's take a break right here. And right there in the middle of the desolation and this dark place, the enemy had to watch God provide for you, and there was nothing the enemy could do about it. Everything about this place says there's no way you can have peace. There's no way you cannot have confusion. There's no way that you can experience the fullness of God in this place. But right now, in this dark place, you are enjoying a meal with the shepherd, with your shepherd. When nothing is hurried, there is no confusion, no disturbance. The enemy is at the door, and yet God prepares a table, and we as believers sit down and eat as if everything were in perfect peace. But wait, that verse also says that you anoint my head with oil. See, that's significant because the tradition would have been that the guest into a home would have had their head anointed by the host of that home. So not only has God prepared this table in the presence of your enemy while the enemy watches, but God also anoints my head as if He's the host and I'm His guest, which is making a statement to the enemy that God owns it all. If God's in the dark valley, then God has made His home there, and I am His guest. If God's on the highest mountain, then guess what? God has made His home there, and I am also His guest there. When God anoints your head with oil, He's saying, don't worry, my child, I own this land. And it may look dark, but I know this place like the back of my hand. So just hold on to me as we walk through it. I can light it up so you can walk on your own, He says, but I want you to learn to trust me when you can't see what's in front of you. God says, I want you to get to know me in this dark valley will be a good place for you to develop in our relationship with each other. And right there in the midst of that valley, my cup runs over. Nothing about that will be wasted. That overflow isn't for me to pack away as leftovers and stick in the fridge. That overflow is to bless others. You're talking about sticking to the enemy. Here you are in a dark valley. You should be stressed. You should be freaking out. But your shepherd says, hold my hand. I got this. Sit down right there and let me prepare this table. But before you fill up with the goodness of the table, let me anoint your head with oil because you are my special guest here. And what the enemy has meant to hurt you is going to be one of the greatest blessings in your life. And your cup is going to be overflowing now. We aren't talking about overflowing when the valley is behind us. We're talking about overflowing right there, right now, here in the darkness of this valley. Man, I hope that God is speaking abundantly to you and that you are finding encouragement and growth in your relationship with God. See you tomorrow for day 7, the last day of our devotional. Love you guys.